Oh, you raised my board from me. People pop it on. Hormone. So let me clap this.
Sorry.
Let's get it started and we'll take it from there. Yeah.
Hi, this is Brian. Welcome back to a new episode of Philosopher's Notes TV. Today we've got another good one. I know I say that every time. I love these books. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Darren Hardy is the publisher of Success magazine. He knows a thing or 10 about success. He's interviewed everyone, and he's achieved an extraordinary amount of success in his life. And just a fun guy. This book is a little manifesto on how to jumpstart your income, your life, and your success. It's a really quick, fun read, super practical and inspiring goodness. The 6 fundamentals of rocking it, essentially. We've got the Philosopher's Note. I've got a bunch of big ideas in here. We'll cover a handful of them right now. Let's jump straight in. Let's talk about what the compound effect is as we discuss magic pennies. So you've probably heard the story of magic pennies, of pennies compounding. But let's play the game. So, I offer you a choice. You can take $3 million right now, give you $3 million right now, or I'll give you a penny and we'll double it every single day for 31 days. Which would you like? Would you like $3 million? $3 million right now, in your hand, in your bank, or would you like a penny today that will double for 31 days?
Pennies.
Insert Jeopardy music here. Which one do you pick? Well, let's say you take the $3 million and your friend decides to take the doubling penny. What would that look like? All right, so you get the $3 million, you're stoked. Your friend gets the penny. He's like, okay, I hope this works out, right? That penny on day 10, how much is it worth? It's worth about $5. Day 10, $5, not a lot. Huh, you're feeling pretty good with the $3 million, right? This guy's starting to wonder. Day 20, where's he at? Your friend has $5,000 to your $3 million at day 20. It's pretty far in the process. But then you keep on going, you get to days 28, 29, 30, 31, and suddenly the doubling penny is now worth over $10 million to your $3 million. That's the compound effect. It's the magic of staying with something. As Darren describes it, it's small, smart choices consistently applied over time equals huge results. Small, Smart choices consistently applied over time equals huge results. That's the compound effect. That's magic pennies. He has a great story too that I'll go into quickly about three friends. Three friends. They're all exactly the same, basically, right? The first one keeps on living his life. He's kind of sort of happy, complains a little bit, but whatever. Just keeps on doing the same thing. The second one says, you know what? I want to enjoy life more. I've been working hard. I'm going to get a big screen TV. I'm going to watch the food channel. I'm going to make some nicer meals for myself and my family. And I'm going to get a bar installed, and I'm going to drink one exotic drink more a week. Right? Nothing huge, but makes those changes, and he wants to live a little more, right? The third friend says, look, I heard Dr. Oz say that if I take 125 calories out of my diet, I can make significant changes over the long run. So I'm going to eat 125 calories less every day. One less cup of cereal, one less whatever, 125 calories less. And I'm going to walk a couple thousand more steps a day. Not a big deal, less than a mile. I'm going to make these small changes. Number 3 makes positive small changes. Number 2 makes negative small changes. And the first guy doesn't change anything, right? Fast forward 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days. They're all pretty much the same, just like the pennies. But then you go forward 31 months, kind of like the 31 days for the pennies, and what do you have? Well, if you add 125 calories to your diet for 31 months, you just put on over 30 pounds. That's what happened to friend number 2. Friend number 3 did the opposite. He lost 30 pounds. So in 31 months, these little changes wound up being huge. Friend 3 weighs 60 pounds less than friend 2. He lost 30 pounds. His buddy put on 30 pounds. That's how different they are. And then Darren talks about it wasn't just their physical health, which was significant. Other positive ripples started happening. The positive guy said, hey, I'm kind of feeling good. I'm going to read a little bit more, 10 minutes in the morning. And he started getting more and more positive, and he got a promotion at work and started making more money, and his relationship improved. Small choices consistently applied over time led to huge results. The negative spiral went for the other guy, the second guy, right, who had the little negative habits. He started feeling a little tired from eating so much food and became a little crankier at work and at home, and his life went negatively down. Small choices consistently applied over time, huge results. That's the compound effect. That's the magic pennies. Big idea number 2. Unsexy, mundane fairy tales. So Darren says, look, $10 million in that doubling penny, that's a fairy tale ending. But the way you get there is not sexy. It's mundane. It's often difficult. Application of daily disciplines. What are the things you need to do on a daily basis to create that fairy tale ending? They're not often easy. They're certainly not incredibly fun. But what do you need to do? It's a lot more fun for me to stay online at night and go to ESPN.com, check out what's going on, maybe watch different things on my iPhone, just a couple of quick little episodes of Colbert or whatever. That's a lot more fun than it was in the beginning anyway. Now it's actually more fun to do what I do, to turn off the phone, to be present with the family, to do a digital sunset is what we call it, and to go to bed by 7 p.m. That's what I try to do during the winter right now. It's super fun for me now, but it's mundane, it's unsexy. But it's what we need to do if we want to achieve the fairy tale ending. So what are your daily disciplines that may not be particularly sexy, but you need to engage in more consistently? Think about that and get on it. And when you do that, you will say, hello, Mr. Mo. So Darren has some great stories about Mr. Mo, momentum, and what happens when you consistently apply these daily disciplines and experience the compound effect is that you have this momentum that comes into your life. And all great performers are very good friends with Mr. Mo, Darren tells us. And he likens it to the space shuttle. The space shuttle, you may know, uses more fuel in the first few minutes of the trip than it does the entire rest of the trip. It's amazing. Why is that? Because it needs to escape gravitational pull. Well, so do we. When we're creating new habits, when we're committing to creating a better life, it's the rocket launch phase of a space shuttle mission. It takes a ton of energy. It's hard work. to rewire our brains and to actually create new habits, right? But then what happens? Then Mr. Mo comes on, and all of a sudden, when the space shuttle is out there past gravitational pull, it just needs to make a subtle change, not a lot of energy, and it gets dramatic results, right? Mr. Mo comes. So you want to stay with it long enough to get Mr. Mo, and then stay with it long enough to keep Mr. Mo in town. It's a big idea. One way to do that is to bookend your days. This is a really cool idea. It's something that I've done, but I hadn't articulated. I've never heard anyone articulate it the way that Darren does, and it's genius. So he says this: it's a lot easier to control your mornings and your evenings than it is in between. I call them AM rituals and PM rituals. And he says you need to bookend your days with goodness. Start your day in a way that you can consistently rock it, and end your day in a way you can consistently rock it. Bookend your days. Then your day might get a little chaotic in between, but you know you did the most important stuff at the beginning and at the end of the night. In the note I talk about my AM rituals and PM rituals. Darren has some awesome ones. And we want to identify what we do when we're on and do that consistently. Bookend your days. AM rituals, PM rituals, good stuff. Final big idea, the next 5 years. Darren has a great question. He says, look, if you could rewind to 5 years ago, and imagine what you hoped your life would be like today. How you doing? Is your life today what you hoped it would be 5 years ago? In every aspect, your health, your relationships, your creativity, your career, your finances, etc. It doesn't need to be a depressing exercise if it's not, but we do want to take the time to see that. Which areas of our lives are rocking? None of us are going to do that perfectly. Which areas are doing pretty darn well? We're pretty excited about it. And 5 years ago, we would have been stoked to see where we are today. And then other areas, we need to shine some more light on. We need to bring some more attention to it and think about how we put in the effort, the unsexy, mundane stuff that will lead to a fairy tale in 5 years. Such that when we look back 5 years from now at today and who we aspire to be, we've engaged in our daily disciplines and other things that allow us to experience the benefits of those magic pennies, the compound effect at work. So think about that, and think about what behaviors you need to change in your life today such that the version of you 5 years from now thanks you. Says, thank you so much for doing that, and that to give me the chance to have the life that I have now. It's a really cool idea. Let's make the next 5 years ridiculously awesome by embracing these ideas. So that's a quick look at Darren Hardy's great book, The Compound Effect. Check him out at darrenhardy.com. Check out Success Magazine, all of his other good stuff. He's got a new book coming out soon I can't wait to read. And there we go. We looked at magic pennies and the three friends who made small choices, consistently applied over time to experience huge differences and huge results. The fact that fairy tales come from the mundane, the unsexy, the often challenging daily disciplines. Hello, Mr. Mo. A space shuttle uses most of its energy in the launch phase. So do we when we start new habits. Bookend your days, AM rituals, PM rituals. What can you do to rock it, to set yourself up to have great days in your next 5 years? What are you going to change in your life today such that 5 years from now you're looking back and thanking yourself? Hope you enjoyed, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Have another awesome day. See you.
All right. Very cool. I love The Compound Effect. It's one of my favorite books. It was on my list of the top 12 books you should read for this year. It's very similar to The One Thing. There's a lot of comparisons to them. Some people say that one person stole some ideas from the other person, but when he talks about the penny thing, if you read The One Thing, there's an analogy in there about dominoes, about how small dominoes can end up knocking over big dominoes. It's very similar type of analogy. The things that I got out of it, does anybody have anything they want to iterate from what they saw, what they thought about that before I get into my little diatribe of things that I want to talk about? I see Sean on there. Hey, Sean. Hey, Ori, Sue, Tracy's on there. That's awesome. So The Compound Effect, Darren Hardy has a bunch of books. There's another one called The Entrepreneur's Roller Coaster, which is really good as well. So you should read that. as well. But just skipping ahead a little bit, they talk about reading 10 to 15 minutes a day. So what I started doing is that my attention span is like of a squirrel. Like I have really hard time focusing on things for long periods of time. And I figured out that if I did audiobooks, I could listen to an audiobook for about 15 minutes a day. And I would get through a really long book in about a month, a really short book. Like, so I read on average through Audible, probably somewhere around 12 books a year. Sometimes it's a little more, sometimes a little less. It depends on how, like right now, I just started a 9-hour book. And I look at 9 hours, I'm like, ugh. But then I get into the book and like, literally I'm in the first chapter, I'm enthralled. I'm like thinking in my mind, I can't wait to get back to read this book while I'm driving home, because like my drive is like an hour. So sometimes but even while I'm driving, 15 to 20 minutes, and then I have to like switch to something else. But it's the consistency of this. I've gotten so much knowledge from being able to do this, and I've been doing this since, good Lord, 2012. I've been reading like a book a month almost. So, but it's the 10 to 15 minutes a day. Any of this stuff, 10 to 15 minutes a day, it helps. But we go back to the compounding pennies. Small, smart choices over time equals magic. I love that, because that in what I say, that's follow-up. That is follow-up, the little things that you do every day. And everybody likes to look at, like, I don't know who, I get recruits in my office that are like, oh my God, I want to be like on Selling on Sunset. Good Lord. I never heard those words again. And so this is the thing. So $1 million list, I like $1 million listing. Like I've met a couple of those guys on there. But there was one time I saw a scene, and I think it was Josh Flagg. He was in a restaurant with his family, and he looked across the room at a restaurant, and he saw somebody he knew. And he stood up and he walked over and he said, hey, now this was completely contrived in my opinion. He goes, hey, what's going on? How's it doing? And they're like, hey, we're thinking about selling our house. You should come over. Probably completely contrived. But the analogy that I want to put together at that is that none of these guys, now Josh Flagg came from money. Like I guess his grandmother like brought fabric into the, like this, like polyester. I think it's actually polyester to America. So like, he had money, but like Josh Altman and some of these other guys, they just kind of built it as they went. But what happens is when you look at follow-up, you put, and this is the unsexy, mundane part of it as well. So it goes from here, and it goes over here. You put people in your database, you call them, they don't answer, you leave them a voicemail, you shoot them a text message. You send them out a note card, you send them out an email, you send them out a newsletter, you call them again, and you just follow up with them. And what happens is that, so like the plan that I give everybody, it's like 40 plus touches. If you do it right, it comes out to like 80 touches because of different things. But when you start calling people, what happens is that sometimes they answer the phone, sometimes they respond to text messages. Sometimes they respond to emails. Sometimes there becomes these extra accoutrement touches that happen that build upon the relationship. So like one phone call just kind of builds upon builds upon builds upon builds, but there is nothing sexy or exciting about making a phone call to a client just to say, hey, how are you? How's the job? How's the kids? How's the husband? How's the family? There's nothing exciting about that. And 10 out of 10 times you're going to call somebody and their job's going to be great, their family's going to be great, the house, everything's great. And then you move on. But the consistency of the small little things over time, what happens is that you're going to talk to them, and in 2 weeks, it's not going to be fine. Something's going to happen. And everybody I talk to, we go through this, why people buy and sell. People buy and sell because like they get a job, they lose a job, they have a baby, they get married, they get divorced, somebody dies, somebody gets rich, somebody gets poor. There's all these specific reasons of why things happen. So the more you can actually have conversations with somebody, not about real estate, just in general, the boring daily basic stuff. Like if you see something online that reminds you of somebody, call that person. Hey, I just saw this, reminded me of you, blah, blah, blah. And then you just touch base and you use that as an extra follow-up thing. You don't have to be so consistent that you only have to stick to the 40 touch follow-up plan. Like when you see something, like I reached out to my old martial art instructor when I was like started martial arts when I was 16, and I've kept in contact with him. And I saw something, I'm like, he should be in my database. And I called him, I said, hey, I just saw this thing about martial arts and I thought of you, and I just wanted to check in to see how you're doing. I messed myself up because sometimes what happens, it's good, but what I didn't realize is when I did it, we got into this whole like over hour text conversation back and forth. It was really cool because we were connected. And we talked about how, going back there to see him in Milwaukee and like all these different conversations. He's actually not Milwaukee, it's outside of Milwaukee. But all it took was me seeing something that reminded me of him. And now we're like totally connected. Like I could literally call and text him right now. And we're like, haven't missed a beat for like last 35 years that we've known each other. And it takes just those little things. The momentum part, it's kind of like all of this stuff put together, because momentum is the key. And when I look at the momentum aspect of it, it's like you're doing all these lead gen and all these follow-up things, and you're looking to you're putting all this effort, and you're going to get one deal. Now you have a deal. Let's say it's an average deal. It's $1 million, because that's like the average price point in LA. It's $1 million, but now you did all this time, all this effort to get this lead, and now you have a listing. Now, if you know statistics, like technically, if you get a lead and you market it properly, you do open houses, you do all these things, you should be able to get another lead. And then you use that lead and you follow up, you get that sphere of influence, and you do another lead. It's just all of this effort on the front end. All you need is one or two. If you look at the agency, Mario Umansky, the guy that put together the agency, he married into the Hilton family, which was a massive, massive family. But if you know anything about the business and the background of it, because I did a tremendous amount of research into this, into the agency to see how they put things together, he wasn't really given very much. Like he got a little bit of help. His wife got a lot of help from being on TV or whatever. But when it came to his real estate business, the biggest thing he got was that he didn't come in knowing a bunch of celebrity clients like he does now. What he did is he joined Hilton and Highland, and he got the opportunity to hold other people's open houses. And that was how he ended up making all of his connections and talking to people, and he just started growing it from there. He met somebody, he followed up with them, he got opportunities, and then it just kind of slowly grew from momentum on that. And there's probably a million different other analogies I can give you momentum, but it always starts out super small and goes big in time. 4, I think this one's really important. This is something, and I want to say, maybe I heard this from Darren Hardy back when I read the book, but I think it was a combination of Darren Hardy and Grant Cardone, because I was kind of listening to everybody all at the same time. But the AM PM routines are, in my opinion, probably the most important things you can do, because you can't be on all the time. And I like, and you can ask Tracy this, and Tracy can chime in if she wants, when like she gets up and she goes to get coffee in the morning, I start getting ready, and like she'll walk in and like I'll have some motivational thing playing on my phone every morning, because I believe in starting the day with positivity, starting with good things in your mind, and just having that type of mindset, because regardless of whatever happened yesterday, today's a new day. And so you start out with positivity, and you start off with all these things, but then by the end of the day, I believe you have to prepare for what's going to happen, but you also need to kind of decompress. And I literally do that every night, and I have a routine every night. Tracy and I have a routine every night. Like, we do certain things, and she goes to bed, and then I do other things. Like late at night, I try to get a few things extra done, but I always do things to kind of quiet my mind, because my mind is like, I think your mind is like your number one asset and your number one enemy all at the same time. Because as I've said before, and I can't remember where I heard this from, is that the person who talks to you the most is yourself. And most of the time, you're probably not saying nice things to yourself. Like, oh man, my butt's so big. Like, it's just, you say negative things to yourself all the time. So you always have to just kind of quiet your mind as much as you can. One of the books that I read called Success Through Stillness. It's a really, really great book. If you're a vegan, you'll love the book, because So Russell Simmons, the guy that wrote it, he's a big vegan. He talks about it in the book, which I thought was a little off topic, but the book itself talks about how you meditate and quiet your mind and different ways to do that. It's an amazing book for business. So I do positivity in the morning, and then I write my goals in the morning of the things that I want to accomplish, big macro goals, and all the way down to like daily, what I need done today goals. And then at night, what I do is I literally rewrite my goals again, because the focus on your goals consistently is what's going to get you to where you need to go. That comes to the 5 years versus today. So I do my big goals and I do my little goals because through my own journey in life, I realized that we overanalyze and we overestimate what we can do in a year, and we underestimate what we can do in 5. You can literally change your life night and day in the next 5 years to where you are in a completely different tax bracket, place, everything. And the best way I can illustrate that is because I've done a tremendous amount of research on certain people. If you look up Alex Hormozi is probably one of the best business minds I've seen. Within a 5-year period of time, he went from like negative to over $100 million net worth within a 5-year period of time. If I told you, I need you to do these simple, boring, stupid things for 15 years, and then at the end of 15 years, you'd be a billionaire, would you do it? I think most people would, but I don't think most people have the tenacity to do something crazy for 15 years that seems insignificant. So the best one that I can give you is Mr. Beast. So Mr. Beast, if you rewind 15 years and look at his videos, which you can go to his YouTube, go back to it, and I actually played this during a team meeting where he was doing this silly Minecraft video. He sounded silly, it looked silly, and you were looking at it like, this is stuff, why would people even watch this? Fast forward to today. So 3 years ago, somebody offered, I think it was 3 years ago, somebody offered him $1 billion for his YouTube channel. And all he did was obsess over YouTube and consistently post videos every day. Consistently, and he just slowly grew, and he started figuring out the algorithm. And it took him about 15 years. His YouTube channel is worth way more than $1 billion right now, because what he did is that he figured out that the United States market and English is only one branch of YouTube, that he actually took his videos and started transcribing them into other languages. So now he has billions of views on his YouTube channel in other languages in other countries, which is mind-blowing. But you can also put Jeff Bezos in this category. It took him about 15 to 20 years to get $1 billion. But the funny thing is he's one of the richest men in the world. He only owns 30% of Amazon. He doesn't even own the whole thing. So it's like, but take $1 billion out of 15 and just bring that down to 5. Like the power of that, like, if you really look at what $1 billion is versus $1 million, it's like exponentially crazy different. But if you just take that to 5 years, but it all starts here with like the pennies compounding, the small little things consistently happening. And it all comes back to the one thing that I always talk about, which is consistency every day. And I mean, this is the part that I think everybody struggles with. Is the boring, mundane, daily stuff. It's really difficult to do something every day and not see a return on investment. I'm just like talking to you because you're the only one here, but there's like 10 people on here or something. But it's just like, I think it becomes really, really difficult to do something every day and not see a return on it. That becomes what I think that when people get into real estate, like the selling sunset, the $1 million listings, like all of these things, I think do a disservice to real estate because they only show the sexy part of it, right? They don't show, like Tracy grinding through the phone and getting hung up on and called names for 3 to 4 hours every morning. They only show the checks cashing, and people driving around nice cars. I think part of Tracy's story when she got into real estate is that like she saw that on HGTV and she's like, oh, I can do that. She could, but it wasn't what she thought it was. Any thoughts on this on Zoom? Anybody? Thoughts? What do you think?
I think the daily, I live off of that, and, you said daily discipline.
Yeah.
But I call it daily deposit,
I
because
like it.
just a little bit, just deposit something, it could be $50 today, it could be 500 tomorrow, 5 cents the next day, just little bit by little bit, if you're consistent.
Yeah.
And giving something to yourself, because it's a return to yourself, you'll see the growth. It is mundane, it's very mundane, and my brother is like so good at it. He went to school, graduated, went straight to college, went to master's, got his doctorate, and I'm like, and he said discipline.
Yeah.
That's all it is, discipline.
There's a really good book called The Gain in the Gap, and like part of the gain in the gap is like if you do that stuff every day, if you look at how far you're away from your goal, that's the gap. But then if you look at how far you've come, that's your gain. And it's like there's like it's a mental game. It's mindset. And that's why, and so like I struggle with that so much. That's why my AM PM is so important, because I have to constantly be providing positive things in my head and putting other things in my head, because if I listen to that voice is gonna mess me up. Don't do that, go eat that, go drink that, go watch this. Like, no, focus. This is the goals. And so like I'm constantly trying to do little things like that, because in my opinion, like on the outside, if you look at my life from a distance, probably looks like I have discipline. Like I'm like, I go to the gym 7 days a week, sometimes 6, sometimes 5,
Right.
And there's days where I'm like, man, and again, Tracy could probably say, I'm sitting on the couch going, I do not want to go to the gym. I do not want to go to the gym. And then I'll make it, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this, and I'll like literally restructure things so I don't have to go to the gym, and I'll rationalize, right? So, but the consistent, like last night I went to the gym and I literally, so all my excuses were removed. Like Tracy was working, my son was not doing anything. Like I had to feed the dogs, and then I didn't really have much to do. And I'm like, well, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Right. So I went to the gym, and when I got back, I could actually feel a physical difference because I lifted more. I did more than I had in a long time. And it's like that satisfaction, like, makes me excited to go to the next day. But it's like all those little things that are so small and seem insignificant. And I just think the underestimating what you can do in 5 years is really important, because we all try to overestimate what happens in the next 12 months. But there's momentum. When I started in real estate, I think it took me 6 months to do $165,000 in real estate. And I say 6 months because that was like from when I started the time frame, but it was really 3 months. And that's because it took me 3 months to like build momentum and get out of my way. There's first 3 months, I didn't really do anything. And, like I had to get my business cards right. I had to get my headshot. Like I had to do all these things that I thought were important. But then when I actually started making the phone calls and picking up the phone and started to talk to people, I had this momentum, and I got my first deal. And then when I got my first deal, that kind of just like sparked something to where I realized I've got to talk to everybody. And when I say everybody, so I was just married, and my wife and I were not buying a house, so I wasn't going to get a deal there. My father-in-law didn't like me. I didn't know he didn't like me. I kind of felt he didn't like me, but then he didn't use me. He bought like 5 houses. He had a house for sale. I got my license. He used the local specialist, the area specialist, whatever. Jerk. But then I'm thinking, well, I don't really have another, that's really it. Like my mother-in-law, she's not interested. Like I don't really have anybody else. But then I realized sphere of influence is not just them, it's all the people that they know. So like then I went to my brother-in-law, who they just bought a house with their friend that was a realtor. Not to mention, like, I was the family member, so they could have used me, but they used a friend. I'm actually friends with that realtor now. But so what I did is I went to my brother-in-law and said, hey, do you know anybody that is thinking about buying or selling? I went to a family event and found his sister, and they ended up using me. And then I started just literally talking to everybody that I know. And I started going to the fringe people that I didn't know, that I knew that people knew, and started talking to all these people. And it just kind of, it compounded. It compounded and it grew. And it was literally 3 months of me doing all this crazy stuff to where I was like, you're an idiot. You just quit your job. What are you doing? You're not going to make any money. You don't know anybody here. Like all this stuff going inside of my head for 3 months. And then it just kind of popped. So I would recommend read this book. This is on my top 12 list of all time for real estate. Anybody else have anything? I don't want to make this super long. It's Friday. I know everybody's got things to do. Thoughts, questions, concerns, comments? Sean's making phone calls probably right now. So is Tracy. Oh, there he is. There he is. How's it going, Sean? What do you think? Have you read this book?
It's all good stuff. Yeah, I did a long time ago. I need to reread it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Does that resonate with anything that you think?
No, I agreed with everything you said. I've been sitting here listening. I'm on hold for a support call, so I didn't want to show
There you
myself
go.
jumping on the phone if I had to.
No, it's okay. I got to go get on support with Chase Bank here in a few minutes. So, all right. Well, we're going to wrap things up. Thank you everybody for coming. I really, really appreciate it. I hope this was helpful. Go read the book. It will inspire you and it'll make you excited. So let's play the last video and then let's get out of here. Everybody have a great weekend.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, sir.
There's people in here far superior than me. But there's no one in here that's gonna work harder than me. We get up at 5:30 in the morning, it's pissing rain outside. Our competition's sleeping. I love that.
I will not be outworked, period. Where I excel is ridiculous, sickening work ethic. While the other guy's sleeping, I'm working. While the other guy's eating, I'm working. Talent you have naturally. Skill is only developed by hours and hours and hours of beating on your craft. The commodity, the majority of people who aren't achieving the things that they want is strictly based on hustle. It's strictly based on being outworked. It's strictly based on missing crucial opportunities.
You might outwork me for 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, but you ain't gonna beat me over a year. You can't outwork me over 2 years. I'm gonna get you eventually. I'm a dripping damn faucet. I just keep coming at you. I'm too damn tough to give up. Most people half-ass half their life all the time. I knew they were gonna get tired. They were gonna get down. They quit improving themselves. They start sleeping in. I'm not gonna do that stuff. I'm gonna get up early. I'm gonna keep getting wide. I'm gonna stay relentless.
I might not be the fastest, the strongest, the smartest, none of that crap, but I'll outwork your ass and I flat out want it more than you. It's relentlessness, man. It's pushing past barriers. It's every time you get somewhere, it's wanting to go to the next level.
You guys are entitled to What you're entitled to is an opportunity to show up and be your best. Everyone's like, oh, Craig, you're lucky. You got this, Craig, you're lucky. Everything you do is luck. Bullshit. Because before it was luck, it was a belief. And every day with no one watching at 5 in the morning by myself, I trained it because I believed in it. In hopes that one day my trained ability collided with an opportunity to show it off. That's what luck is. That's what success is. Nothing subjective in there. It's all you.
You gotta look at how much you're working. You gotta look at how much effort you're making, the intention you're putting out there.
You gotta cross the line in life. You gotta go where nobody else wants to go. You gotta work the hours nobody else wants the hours.
You have to resolve yourself today that you're going to dominate, that you're not average and ordinary. There has to become a point where you make a decision. We're gonna dominate. We're here to win. We are not here to play. And that takes some intestinal fortitude. I'm where I'm at because I just flat decided I'm going to be a player. I decided at some point I get to choose who I am. The world doesn't tell me who I am. I write these chapters.
You don't need the world's permission. You don't need anyone's permission to be great. Only permission you need is from that motherfucker who stares at you back in the mirror every day and a willingness to do the hard work longer, harder, and better than anyone. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna buy another success program looking for the secret recipe that doesn't exist? Or are you gonna go do something right now and do something that brings you closer to greatness? That's your choice.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
See you, Frank.
See you later, John.